Good morning, everyone. On today's show, we continue on with RPG Overload. And in accordance with that, we've got two major topics of discussion on the podcast. Number one, Alone in the Dark, which is going to be coming out in a couple of days, and the early reviews are out. We'll talk about it. But also, the big discussion today is what happened yesterday when I was playing Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm just going to say this way up front on the show. There's definitely going to be some plot spoilers of Baldur's Gate 3. They're not going to be total story ruining or anything like that. In fact, it very much just relates to a side quest and a character story arc. But I need to explain what's going on for you to understand my perspective on this. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about the game today and a lot of ranting because I got to get some stuff off my chest. All this and more on today's episode of the Level 1 Podcast. Good morning. It is time for the show, and luckily for me, hopefully, it's the last of a 4-day heat wave here in Washington State. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of March, 2024. Happy spring. If you're not aware, today is actually the first day of spring here in the United States, and we've got summertime weather outside. Right now, it's in about the mid-60s degrees Fahrenheit. During the afternoon, it's supposed to get upwards to 70 degrees, which technically isn't as warm as a lot of summer weather we get here. But the problem is it's so early in the season, no one's prepared for it. Like, I don't have my air conditioner in. This office tends to heat up to about 15 to 20 degrees hotter than what it is outside. So I've been sweating it out. That's why, once again, I'm wearing summertime attire here on the first day of spring. And I look kind of silly, but it is what it is. Luckily, tomorrow, the temperature is supposed to go back down into the 50s and cloudy and rain, which means I'll be back to relaxing with a normal attire again. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to let you know why I'm dressed up in a tropical shirt on the first day of spring. Today's show is going to have one major topic, Baldur's Gate 3. We're going to talk about what happened yesterday in the game, because I don't think I've ever seen my chat so full of discourse about this. Like, some days my chat is dead before I start the stream. Today, this chat was full of people going back and forth about this topic, about what happened in my playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3 yesterday. Over 120 hours into the playthrough, something happened that is so jarring to a lot of people that there's basically a split opinion on it. I have a very strong opinion on it, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on it today. But again, if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever about Baldur's Gate 3, you're probably going to want to skip the entire first half of the show. Once we talk about that, then I'm going to talk a little bit about Alone in the Dark, a game that comes out tomorrow, and is supposed to be yet another attempt to reboot this fated franchise. This is, I think, the third reboot attempt that they're actually trying, and the reviews are all over the place, so I'd like to talk a little bit about that, because I'd be interested maybe in the game down the road, but let's talk about it a little bit before we decide, okay? All right, so let's do this. So here's what we're going to do. Let's briefly do the schedule first. Let's get it out of the way. Then we can focus on the topic of this Baldur's Gate 3 occurrence, and then we can move on. That way it's already out of the way, and we don't have to worry about running late and, oh crap, I forgot to do it, okay? So, RPG Overload, get the nice picture up here for you, continues here on DSPGaming as we continue my push to try to finish both Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth at the same time, all right? It's absolutely required that I finish these games so that I can focus on the other new games coming out starting this Friday. So that's why we're playing so much of them, all right? Today, it's more Baldur's Gate 3 on the first stream. We're going to move on from what happened yesterday. However I can recover, we're going to maybe have to go on a shopping trip. And then we're going to do more questing, and it's on the fence. What should I do? Should I do the Shadowheart quest line? Should I do Will's quest line? Or should I go straight for Orin and try to take out the Baal Worshipper so I can free Lae'zel, and then maybe we can work on the Lae'zel quest line? We'll figure it out, okay? Then tonight on the late stream, 6:45 p.m. Pacific time, it's More Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. We're now in chapter 11. That's right. Within like 3 streams, we went from chapter 8 to chapter 11, and we're turboing through the story, which is great. We've had a lot of stagnation with side content, and it's time now to push through the story and get to the end game of the game so we can position ourselves to complete it when we're ready. Okay? And so, I certainly hope that you guys are ready for that. It should be good. It should be a good time. What the hell is this? Hold on. Yeah, some dumb thing just popped up on my laptop. I'm just ignoring it. Stupid. Anyway, yeah, so today we're pushing forward with more RPGs. What are we doing tomorrow? More RPGs. Like literally the same thing again. Because we need to make as many, as much progress as humanly possible. We have to keep pushing, okay? So, we'll see how that goes today and tomorrow. I'm off from streaming on Thursday, but on Thursday, I'm going to set up my playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2, which will start on Friday. My wife and I are actually going to make a character a pawn in the character creation tool that's available on the Xbox, as well as my own character. So I'm going to have my own character created, and she's going to make a pawn for me that I'm going to use in my playthrough. And then starting Friday, all day long, it is the premiere of Dragon's Dogma 2. Okay, I'm excited for that. You guys have asked me, to do it. And I said, all right, let's do it. Let's play it. That's the new game I'm playing starting Friday. And it's all day long. Both streams will be that. Okay? But then on Saturday, we're going back to Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon. And you might say, well, wait a minute. The new game is out Friday. Why aren't you going to keep playing it? There's no way I can. I have to focus on these RPGs to beat them to make room for new games. If I don't beat Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon, we seriously can't focus on other games. So I have to go back and focus on them right away and beat them. All right? So that will be the focus until we beat them. There will be a React day on Sunday all day long. The usual clip show, DSP versus the Internet on DSP Reacts, followed by, at night, the DSP Throwback. Conclusion of Heavy Rain. I'm excited to see how Heavy Rain ends. And, of course, we're going to do a new poll where you're going to vote for what's the next Retro React that I start doing the next Sunday. So it should be a good time. It should be an exciting and fun time. And I think that you guys are really going to enjoy the end of Heavy Rain. It should be good. And then we're going to continue on Baldur's Gate 3 and Like a Dragon until they're done. Once they're done, then Dragon's Dogma 2 will fully hit the schedule as the featured game. And then we're going to decide what else do we want to do. Do we want to bring Final Fantasy VII Rebirth back into the fold? Do we want to start a new game like Rise of the Ronin or Alone in the Dark? Or do we want to do something else that I've missed out on, right? And then we can make those choices. But we need to do that. We need to make those choices so that, we have a set schedule again. Right now, we kind of have a schedule that's way up in the air because we've had so much limbo with these ongoing RPGs. We need to finish them, okay? Keep in mind, coming up on my birthday, April 6th, it's a Saturday, I'm doing a marathon. And during that marathon, we're going to go through the gaming schedule. And we're going to determine what exact games coming up in the next few months I'm interested in playing. And we're going to generate a whole calendar with that. And once that calendar is made, now I can determine, where are the holes in the schedule where we can fit in other games or other projects. For example, we got to bring back Sea of Stars at some point. We've got to go and do other things. We have to work on this stuff at some point. So, we won't know till we know the actual schedule coming up. And by the way, I have no idea, what games are coming out in April, May, June. I'm actually out of the loop because I've been so inundated with these RPGs lately. I haven't even looked. So we need to figure all of this out. Okay. That's the schedule. I hope it sounds good. So we're going to have RPG Mania going on, finishing these games, then focusing on Dragon's Dogma 2, and then seeing what else is up. Plus, yes, my React content continues on Sundays. There you go. All right, you ready? We're going to do it right now. Let's get into it, guys. So, spoiler alert, if you are playing Baldur's Gate 3, planning on playing Baldur's Gate 3, and you haven't reached Act 3, and you have not reached the culmination of Asterian's plotline, you're going to want to skip this portion of the podcast because I am going to talk about that plot and its conclusion and what happened yesterday when I concluded it and my gripes with this. because I'm pretty upset with the way it went down, not because of the consequences of my choices in the game. I'm actually okay with that. All right. My problem is that I was robbed. Okay. To give you a brief summary, because of my choices, a character left my party and gave me all the items in their inventory except the ones they had directly equipped on their person, which were all unique items you can never get back. These are items that I spent over 120 hours during my playthrough collecting to make the perfect build, and now they're lost completely, erased from existence. Okay? So I want to tell you the story of what happened. I want to tell you my opinion on it, and how I think that Larian could absolutely improve this engine if they actually really wanted to make it truly like a role-playing game rather than we just make arbitrary decisions and you live with them game, which is really what this game is, sadly. And then we're going to go from there. But I'm sure everyone's going to have difference of opinion because people in the chat have already. They were going back and forth this morning about it. So let's do it. Let's talk, shall we? Yeah, let's do it. All right, so here's the deal. Asterion is one of your party members who you find right at the beginning of the game. He is a vampire spawn, meaning that in his past, a vampire bit him and made him basically a vampire, but he doesn't have the full powers of, like, the vampire lord. He's just one of the underlings, okay? But because in the plot, he has this illithid parasite in him, he somehow is freed from the control of his master, and he's able to walk daylight. So he's a daywalker vampire, okay? So most of the plot, he is your go-to guy when it comes to lockpicking, when it comes to being stealthy. You know, he's the rogue. He's the guy in the shadows all the time, right? So, you know, you can build him various ways. You could have him backstabbing people, being invisible, or you can have him from range doing crazy ranged attacks and stuff like that. I've used him in various different ways over the playthrough, okay? Notably, near the end game here, his build is so good that he basically gets like tons of turns. Like he gets 3 to 4 turns in one turn, and he gets giant critical hit damage. He gets elemental damage. He gets all this extra stuff on top of everything we're doing, you know, that would be a basic rogue class. And that's because of the way I built him, but that's also because of his gear, okay? And he's been a critical part of my game. He really has. 120 hours in, he 100% has always been a part of my party. Unlike everyone else who I've swapped in and out, he has literally been a staple of my party since day one because of his uniqueness. He's the lock picker, right? He's the stealth guy. Now, here's the thing about Asterion and his character. He's not a good guy. Over the course of the plot, you find out that he's kind of an underhanded dude. Number one, right at the beginning of the game, he tries to suck your blood when you're asleep at camp without your permission. The hell? Who said you could do that? At least ask. And he doesn't. He just tries to do it, and you catch him in the act. Then over the course of the playthrough, you realize he basically is the one with the worst morals. He's the one who originally wants to use the illithid parasites for using all of their power. Like, he's totally for it. He says, if you're not going to use them, give me all the parasites so that way I can become, like, all-powerful. Now, basically when you play through the game and you get to know him better, you kind of sympathize for the guy, because finding out all the crap he's been through in his life, being a vampire spawn, that he's gone through horrible, horrible things. He was very mistreated by his master, Cazador. That's the name of the vampire who turned him and controls him. I mean, over the course of the game, you got people who are hunting him because he's a vampire spawn. He runs into his former spawn mates, I guess you could call them, like brothers and sisters, in being turned into spawn, and see, you know, you'll learn about their horrible backstory and how they were mistreated and all of that. So you do sympathize with him somewhat. But I mean, out of all the dialogue choices and everything in the game, he's the evil dude. Like, you could tell if you did an evil run playthrough and did all the, like, harsh choices, he would be in love with you. Like, he would absolutely love all your choices because that's what he wants. He doesn't care about people being treated well. He just kind of laughs and snickers at everything and likes when people get hurt. He literally, every time in the game when you make a good decision, it says, Asterion disapproves. But why? It's kind of weird, because obviously your first run in an RPG, a lot of people want to do kind of the goody two-shoes run, and then you'll go back and you'll do the evil run. Well, he's introduced right at the beginning of the game, along with all the other party members, and when you make the good choices, all the party members like the choices, just not him. So over the course of the game, if you make moral choices, Asterion dislikes you more and more. And there's a couple critical things you have to do during the game choices, during the plot, that make him change his character a little bit and his attitude towards you. Notably, there's this one time where he wants to learn about these runes that were carved into his back by his master. Now think about how fucked up that is. His vampire master literally, with a knife or something, carved stuff into his back, right? And he doesn't know what it is. And a demon shows up and says, I'll tell you what those runes are as long as you do a favor for me. We'll come to find out the favor is an awful favor. He wants you to murder, basically, a creature that's a slave of his. It's another plot line. I don't want to really get into it and spoil it. But basically, again, the moral choices lead you to do things differently. Because you do moral choices, Assyrian's angry with you. Oh, I didn't get to learn what the runes on my back are. Now, the funny part about that is you just find out what they are later anyway, easily. It's not like, oh, it's a hard thing now and you lost out on an opportunity. You're just going to find out in the plot what they are anyway. So it doesn't even matter that he found out earlier or later. He finds out anyway. So there's no reason why he should be so upset with you. But he is anyway. Okay? So over a few more choices in the game, he may like or dislike you more. But basically, by the time that I got to the end of the game, he's in my party. He's adding all these dialogue options. And by the way, we're doing his companion quest line. Meaning we've gone out of our way, all right, to basically appease this guy. Even though he's upset with some of the choices we made during the game, we're going to the mansion of the vampire that controls him. We're getting his revenge. We're killing everyone in there that doesn't like him. And now we're going to get to this big boss fight against the vampire. Literally, the only reason you're there is for him. You're not looking for anything there. There's no items you need. There's no power you're going to get by killing this vampire. You're literally doing this just for him. Okay? So he should be appeased. If this were realistic and good writing, he should be like, wow, so the whole party's actually doing this out of the kindness of their own heart to help me? Awesome. Instead, he's a fucking pissy bitch about it. He's demanding the entire time. We absolutely need to not only defeat the vampire lord who controls me, but I want to flip this on its head, and I want to have this ritual make me the ultimate powerful vampire. And it's funny because when you get there, you're like, wait, what? Like, how did this become part of the deal? We never even really discussed this in the past. I don't even know, why did this become a big deal? It was supposed to be just about freeing him from the grips of his vampire lord, but the game turns it into a quest now to make him the ultimate vampire, which is kind of weird. Again, especially if you're going into this with a moral mindset. You don't want a vampire lord. There already is one. Things are bad. You don't want just another one. And the thing is, again, with Asterion, you've seen through the plot, he is corrupted by power. He's the person that wants to use the illicit parasites for his own gain, while everyone else is apprehensive about it. No, we don't want to use the power because it's too dangerous or too evil. He's okay with it, right? So it doesn't make sense if you're going for the moral role-playing story, which I am, to do what he wants, okay? So basically, you go through the whole mansion, you get to the end. It's the big boss fight against Cazador. And it's a unique boss fight, like most of these endgame boss fights. It's not bad at all. I actually was enjoying it. And we get to the very end, and we beat Cazador, and now Asterion has the critical decision. He wants to become the vampire lord. So what does that entail? Well, this ritual has to complete. It means that everyone in this ritual circle is about to die. It means that all of these vampires spawn, that supposedly they're saying there's thousands of them that are trapped in the castle, are all going to be sacrificed so that he can become the ultimate vampire. Now he's going to control the legions of vampires in Baldur's Gate. And again, as we've already seen in the plot, Asterion sadly can't be trusted with power. He's the one who wants to misuse the illicit power early on. So the track record says, no, this is bad. Even when you're going to make the decision of you want to go with this or not, Shadowheart speaks up and says, no, you don't want to do that because you're going to sacrifice all these people just for him to get more power. This doesn't make sense. It's kind of like you're getting rid of one dictator to replace it with another dictator. But because you're friends with that dictator, it's okay. No. The dictator alone is bad. It doesn't matter who it is. There shouldn't be one, right? So, when all this is going down, and even with my other party members warning me against it, don't do it, I said, that's it. I'm going to make my choice. No, I'm not going to allow him to do the ritual, okay? So, by the way, it's revealed that the writing on his back from Cazador is the ritual marks. It's just he was going to be one of the sacrifices for the ritual. And during the ritual, you rescue him. So again, all the things you're doing for this character, right? You went to Baldur's Gate, you went to the mansion, you kicked the vampire's ass, and you saved him from being ritually sacrificed. That's not good enough. He still doesn't like you because you don't want to do exactly what he wants. You want to talk about a fucking spoiled brat? That's Astarion. He's fucking such a spoiled brat character. If he doesn't get exactly his way, he hates you. How the fuck does that make any sense? You've done this guy so many favors at this point. You saved his ass early on from vampire hunters. You saved him when his brothers and sisters came to camp and tried to kill everyone in the night. You went there, you stormed the castle, you beat the vampire lord, you free him from his control. Oh, I'm still pissy with you. Well, fuck you then. Like, really, what a badly written, not badly written, but I understand. They're trying to say, again, this guy is a corruptible character who basically, he's kind of incorrigible. No matter how much you like him, he's always going to be that kind of guy, and you got to deal with that, right? So, I made the choice, and I said, no, we are absolutely not going to let you become the vampire lord. And then he says, okay, and he turns and he brutally murders Cazador, all right? And then he says, just listen to this. Well, since you made your choice, you wouldn't do what I wanted, I'm going to storm away like a spoiled brat. I didn't get my way, so I'm going to throw a tantrum. Number one, I'm going to leave your party permanently and you never find me again, okay? Number two, and listen to this, I've decided that because I can't get my way, all those prisoners out there, all those imprisoned turned just like me, they're all vampire spawn. Oh, they'll never be freed. And he takes the staff, that's the doors to the cells for the prison, and he snaps it on his knee. So now all those people are stuck permanently and can never be freed because he's a spoiled fucking brat. He didn't get his way, so now it's tantrum time. And it's like, wait, what? You didn't gain anything by doing that. You're just an asshole, right? So then he storms away. And I'm like, listen, all right, let me get this. If he's out of my party for good, okay? It's sad because he's been my go-to rogue. He's been my lockpicker. He's been my stealth guy. He's been a part of the plot for 120 hours. Yeah, it hurts to lose someone who's a key party member. Like I said, I literally never took Astarion out of my party. He was there from the get-go, and he's the only character that I always had in my party, right? So it sucks to lose him. But I said, I'm going to live with the consequences of my decisions. I chose the moral path. That's the path that he didn't like. If he doesn't like me and he doesn't want to be with me anymore, that's fine. Leave, okay? So I receive a sack of items in my inventory. It's over 100 items. I said, oh, this is his inventory. This is what he had sitting in his inventory, and they give it to you so that way you don't lose all the inventory items when he leaves the party. Fine. So we go back to camp. So what are we going to do? Well, for now, Astarion's gone. Let's just get someone else quick in the party. Let's do another mission. So I did. I put another character in the party. We went and got another mission. We actually recruited another character, which is wild. I recruited a new character 120 hours into the game. I'm thinking that's probably the last one. So someone says, you know, in this game, the cool thing about it is once you hit level 12, which is the max level, which I hit a while ago, you can respec characters to however you want. And so you could essentially make a second Astarion out of this new character, Minsk, who we recruited. And I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. Let's do it then. So we did. We literally went in and built Minsk into the same Gloomstalker build that Astarion had. And I was like, well, this is excellent. Let's just have him be the new Minsk. And we'll have a new character to boot, and we'll get to learn new lore and everything. This will be neat. So we do all that, and I'm like, well, here's the thing. Half the stuff that Astarion was doing was because of his gear. He had a piece of gear that gave him a first attack every time, every fight. That was a critical hit, giant damage first attack, which is awesome. He had a piece of gear that was the best hand crossbow in the game, doing both force damage and regular damage, and it has special properties. He had a new sword I had just gotten out of the plot. It's a one-handed sword that acts like you're dual wielding. So you can attack with this sword, but get a second free attack, and it does full damage as if you're holding only one sword. It's super duper good. So he's got all of these things. He had the ability to cast a magic missile spell for free, and that's huge because there's situations where you need a guaranteed hit, and he can get it. So I got all this good equipment on him. It's really good equipment. And again, this is rare equipment that once you have it, but you can never, ever reproduce it or get it back if you lose it. It's a one-time deal. It's completely unique equipment, okay? So I'm building Minsk up, and I opened the pack that Astarion had given me of all his items, and I'm trying to transfer the armor over, and I'm like, wait a minute. Now, I know for a fact he had a piece of equipment that gives him the critical hit. I can't find it. Wait a minute. Where are the hand crossbows that I've had him use the whole game? I'm looking. None of it's there. Huh? So the game programmers at Larian had the foresight to say, well, if we have a character leave, they got to give you the items from their inventory because they might have a quest item in there, right? And if there's a quest item in their inventory and they leave, you can't complete the quest. You could soft lock the game. And they didn't want that to happen. But they didn't think enough forward to say, oh, yeah, by the way, if a person leaves your party, they have equipment on them, and they should also give you their equipment, right? How would I have known that a character leaving my party means that he leaves with unique critical items that I built over the course of the game specifically for his build, and now because those items are gone, I can never use that build ever again? And it's true. With this particular build that I made, I can never have that kind of combination of attacks or gameplay ever again. It's lost. All right? Now, here's the thing. Because some people have been defending this. All right? And here's the thing again. I'm all for having your choices in any game have consequences. There's too many games today where it's the illusion of choice. You make a choice and didn't really affect anything. This was going to happen no matter what. And it's bullshit. And I don't like games like that. I like games where your choices directly impact the results and the plot and all of that. I really enjoy that. I'm okay with actually having a character who's written to basically kind of be like a spoiled brat, like Asterion is, and that's okay. I'm not arguing with the character. The character's fine. But if I make a moral choice and he's going to leave, all right, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the game now having a new game mechanic, never explained ever throughout the entirety of the game, and a game mechanic that they had enough foresight to say, we don't want to soft lock you, so we're going to give you all of his inventory, but then he's going to run away with all the items that he has equipped. It doesn't make sense, okay? It just doesn't. You might say, well, what's he going to do? Strip naked when he leaves your party? Yeah, because here's what should happen. If he says, well, I'm leaving, immediately you should say, hold up. We just went through a 120-hour journey together, and if you're leaving, that's on you. And I give you the option to leave if you want to leave the party. But if you're leaving, you give me all your shit right now. And then there should actually be dialogue between you and the character hashing it out. Maybe there's a persuasion check. Maybe there's an intimidation check. And then the option should be either you just let him go scot-free, or you have to convince him to give you your items back, or you fight him. And if you win, you keep the items, right? That's what should have happened. Not, oh, he decides to leave. He disappears from the fucking game. Literally, he just goes, bloop, he's gone. They wipe him from game's existence, and now you have no option whatsoever to get your shit back. That's bad game design. And you might say, well, your actions should have consequences. Yes, if you're going to lose the character, that's the consequence. And give me the extra step of role-playing to have that dialogue so we can now determine what happens, because you're choosing to break our camaraderie, our fellowship. You're the one doing it, not me. I'm not sending you off. You decided to leave. So now we have to hash this out, right? Seriously, that's bullshit. You don't just get to steal everything, right? If you are in a relationship and you break up, does one person in the night steal everything in the fucking house and run out the door? No, you have to hash out who keeps what, right? It's bullshit. It shouldn't be like this at all. It's absolutely terrible writing. And Zero says it was his stuff. Wrong. It was the party stuff. It was the party stuff, because everything earned that he had equipped on him is the party's property because they earned it together through their fellowship and camaraderie, not him doing it alone. If there was shit on him that he had earned completely by himself, you have the right to leave with it. None of that shit was his. It was everyone's to divvy out as appropriate during their working together. Once you're leaving, now you got to determine what you get to leave with. It's that simple. There should have been that extra level of RPG, gameplay, and they didn't. Instead, they copped it out. He literally disappears from the game. Huh? How is that role-playing? Oh, I blipped you out of existence. Bloop! What the fuck are you talking about? Right? That's terrible gameplay. It is. It's bad writing. It's bad programming. It's bad gameplay. I'm sorry, you're never going to convince me different. They could have done that a million ways better to make it feel more like a real RPG, where you're playing the role of your character. I made the moral choice. Now we got to hash it out if you're going to leave. You don't just disappear from fucking existence and get away scot-free with all my shit. So, anyway, all that being said, I'm pretty upset. I do feel like this is a huge design flaw by Larian. I think Larian could have done way, way better with this. And now, continuing on with the playthrough, now I have to decide what am I going to do next, because I basically can't have that build in my party ever again. I respect Minsk to kind of be it, but no matter what equipment I put on him, he's never going to be as good as Asterion was. Asterion got off scot-free with the best equipment. Now, some people are like, well, why don't you reload? Because I don't want to. The whole point is that I'm living with my decisions. He should leave. That's fine. If he leaves and he's out of the plot or whatever, you know, and I think he's a baby too. And here's the other thing too, because people are like, well, you should live with the consequences of your decisions. Well, actually, it's not fair because you're not allowed to. Because my decision was, I don't want him to become the vampire lord, so I don't sacrifice thousands of vampire spawn. Then he breaks the staff on his knee anyway. So now the vampire spawn are already screwed. You've basically negated my decision. Basically, the decision was either go with Asterion and do what he wants, or else get a bad ending. Well, that's not a decision at all. That's a trick. It really is. That's a trick. That's bad writing. And there's no way to know you're going to get the bad end by making the moral choice, especially, you know, you've been going the whole playthrough like this. That's bullshit. And so I think what it is, a lot of people would have said, hey, we're just going to, you know, we're going to reload. I'm not going to reload. You know, it sucks that that's where they went with that writing. Now, the funny part about it is some people have been telling me, well, you understand that if you had high affinity with Asterion, it wouldn't have gone down like that. If you had high affinity, then you can convince him otherwise, right? Well, guess what? I can't have high affinity because I'm doing a moral choices roleplay. The whole playthrough, I've been trying to make the best moral choices, right? There's been a few here or there that are very tenuous, I would say. But for the most part, I'm going with the moral choices, so I'm going to live with that. So apparently, you just can never have a good outcome with Asterion if you're a moral person in this game. That's essentially what they're saying. You would have had to made bad choices that he likes. You would have had to, for example, earlier in the playthrough, you would have had to murder someone for a demon for him to be pleased with you, to learn what the runes were cut into his back, even though during the Cazador plotline, you find out anyway. So it didn't even matter that he didn't find out early. All that's a moot point, but he hates you for it anyway. Bullshit. It's bad writing. And I don't like that at all, and they could have done a much, much better job with it, and I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I don't like this part of the game. The whole Cazador plotline is broken because of it, and the game mechanic of someone leaving your party and stealing items because they literally blip out of fucking existence when they leave your party is a terrible, terrible way to code the game. They could have done a scene where you hash it out and you have these choices. In fact, wouldn't that have been better? Okay, you're deciding that we have a difference of opinion. You need to leave the party. All right, so now you're going to have a dialogue, either a persuasion check, an intimidation check, a deception check, something like that to get your inventory back. Or you mutually agree because you still like the character enough that they could just leave with the inventory, or you fight them. And maybe that could be awesome because maybe now they get to use all the shit they learned. Imagine if immediately you have to fight Asterion. He goes, okay, turn one, invisible. Oh, fuck, where is he? And he backstabs one of your characters, and he's so powerful because he's your party member, he insta-kills one of your characters. Right? Like, oh shit. Like, that would be dope. I think that would be amazing if you have to actually fight it out with them at the end for them to get their way. But they didn't put that in the game. I guess that was too tough. Or they just didn't have the design choices. They didn't think of it. I think that would have been amazing. Then you want to talk about a game that resonates as like a truly unique experience. That would have been something I've never experienced in a game before. And I would have been like, wow, that would have been ultra awesome to have in the game. But instead, they literally took the easy way out and they blip the character out of the game. Bloop, done. Code, line of code, remove. Bloop, done. What the fuck is that? Anyway, so I'm upset, obviously. I just spent over 20 minutes on this podcast talking about the situation and how upset I am, right? There you go. Shadow Dancer says, roll a 1, no bonuses. I like the fight idea, but bump his stats, make it a boss fight. Yes, I would love that. Make them a boss. Now you have a cool, epic boss fight to get rid of this character from the story. If you kill them, well, that's why they're gone. But if they win, you know, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I think people would have loved that. No, I would have absolutely loved that. It would have blew me away if that's what happens. I would have never expected that. And I would have been pleasantly surprised. But instead, it's seriously the easy way out. Disappear. So lame. Make my own game. Weary Mark, I bought this game. I have the right to criticize it. I've played it over 120 hours. I can tell you where there's room for improvement instead of just sucking the balls of Larian Studios devs, okay? I don't suck balls. I tell you how it is. This is a awful part of the game that should be improved in future installments when they make them. They should make it better, not fuck you over. And the other part about it is people are saying things like, well, if you had known that you were going to lose the inventory, right, then basically what would have happened is you would have always done the decision to appease the person so they stay with you. You're right. And I think now, what you're seeing now, okay, is essentially the problem with this game. Now that you know that if a character leaves you, you lose their inventory, what's going to happen is for a lot of people, they're just going to make the whole game about appeasing the party members because they want to keep them in the party, so you have that option of bringing that person in for whatever reason, for the plot, for a fight, for lockpick, whatever. You always want everyone happy with you, right? So instead of it being an RPG where you can simulate who you really want to be and make the choices you want, instead it becomes, I am a pleaser, a yes man, a person who just appeases my party members so they'll never leave and I won't lose all of this work that I put into the game. That's terrible. That is absolutely awful. That's bad writing. That's bad gameplay. That's bad everything. No one should have to play the game walking on fucking eggshells, wondering if they're going to piss one of their party members off and then they leave and then you're fucked because the game mechanic is they disappear from the universe, right? So that's terrible. And it should be improved. Absolutely, positively, it should be improved. It's not, all right? I think that's something that, again, whether they patch it in or whether that's something that in a future installment they put into the game, that should be dramatically changed and overhauled. That's one of my major gripes with the game right now. I have a few gripes with it. As you know, I played 120 hours and I had some criticisms of it. This is probably my strongest one right now. That you could screw me out of unique gear I worked my ass off to get and to create this build over the course of the playthrough, and now you screw me, right? That is so unacceptable in my opinion. So anyway, that's my take, and you can disagree. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there who disagree. If you disagree, I want to hear your take, and I want to hear why you disagree in a valid way. Not just, oh, you're wrong and Larian's right, right? That's ball sucking, okay? No ball sucking, right? I don't want to hear ball sucking around here, ass kissing, knob stroking, none of that. I actually want to hear legit arguments for why you think the way they've handled it is better than my proposed way to handle it. Okay? So, and by the way, here's another thing that people have said. Well, other RPGs do it. What RPG? Name one RPG where a character leaves your party and there's no option to ever get them back and get your gear back. Because I'm not aware of it. And by the way, I've played a ridiculous amount of RPGs in my time. I'm literally playing an RPG right now called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. There's two parties. When you switch from the plot from one party to the other, you still have access to the inventory of the other party that you can't play with. Okay? I've played many Final Fantasy games where a character will leave with inventory, but later on it comes back. Or they put the inventory into your party inventory. They don't just remove it magically. It doesn't disappear. The character doesn't blip out of existence. They've already solved this problem many, many times before in other RPGs. This RPG chooses to ignore all of those solutions and say, we're doing it our own way, a very annoying, badly designed, archaic way that punishes the player and makes it that now you're afraid of always pissing off a party member because they might steal all your shit. That's stupid. Sorry. It just is stupid. Okay? And it's funny because now some people are saying, well, what about Final Fantasy Tactics? Oh, Final Fantasy Tactics, a PlayStation 1 game. Excuse me. From the 1990s. That's your best counter to what I'm saying in 2024, over 25 years later. Nothing's advanced since then. Nothing's gotten better. Right? How about this? If you want to play Final Fantasy Tactics, go play Final Fantasy Tactics. This is an RPG in the modern day that's supposed to have modernized mechanics that are appeasing and appealing to the player. All right? I'm playing this game because I want to simulate a certain style of moral compass in my main character, and I should be able to live with the choices without getting dirty surprises like this, being completely screwed. How does it make any sense that Asterion had the foresight to say, well, we don't want to soft lock you, so we're going to give you a bag full of all the items that Asterion had in his inventory, but not anything he actually has equipped on his person? That's bullshit. Either it's all or nothing, not being selective about the shit. That's really stupid, you know? So, sorry, don't like it, not going to like it. You're not going to change my mind, whether trying to yell at me and saying that I'm wrong or, you know, oh, other RPGs do it this way. It's bad. It's just bad game design, in my opinion. You have the right to disagree, but you're not going to convince me otherwise. Right now, I'm very upset that I got this far into the game and I can't get my shit back, right? So I'm not going to reload the game. I'm not going to redo my choice just for the sake of appeasing this spoiled brat character. I'm going to continue on with the playthrough. It just sucks. I'm not going to have anyone who basically has that build anymore. And there's really nothing that I can do about it, right? I just have to kind of live with it, and deal with it. And that's okay, but it will leave kind of a gap in my playthrough where I always, you know, the rogue character was great. I loved having them the entire game, and now I can't lockpick. I could respec someone to lockpick, like Minsk. Maybe we could do that. But Minsk will now not hold a candle to what Asterion was able to do in combat. He doesn't have any of the gear. Like I said, I think what we might do today is first thing we do is go on a shopping trip, because some people have recommended going to this particular vendor or two and buying a couple, like a new bow or something like that. I have no rings for Minsk at all that are any good for a rogue. They were on Asterion. He left with them. I think my boots, everything's bad. Like all the shit I have is pretty bad. So I think I will probably first thing today go on that shopping trip and try to outfit Minsk, and then we're going to decide what we do next. Now, what I might do is I might just go rescue Lae'zel, and if we rescue Lae'zel, maybe she'll become my fourth party member. Then for combat, my party's going to be ridiculous, because Lae'zel was also like crazy good in combat, and she hasn't been in my game now for many hours, so maybe rescuing her is the way to go, and then I have the most crazy party ever for fighting. And then I guess we just forego the entire rogue idea. We just don't have one in our party anymore, right? I guess we'll see. But that's my take on this. I don't like this at all, this game mechanic. I think my proposition of how it should go is much better. And I'd like to hear your opinions on this, okay? All right, I'm officially done with this segment on Baldur's Gate 3, all right? Now, I have one quick thing I need to do, and I'm going to test, well, not test, but I'm going to use a new feature where I can pause the recording and come back in just a moment. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, cool feature, right? I was able to do something I had to do quick. I'm back, and now we continue with the show. All right, the other topic that I want to talk about today, I'm moving on from the Baldur's Gate topic because we could talk about it for hours and everyone will disagree, I'm sure. But I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the future. I'd like to get a lot of feedback on this, if possible. Alone in the Dark is coming out tomorrow, and I only knew about this game because going through the various releases, I've been looking for variety in releases to try to get more stuff rather than just all RPGs into my schedule. And Alone in the Dark is a reboot of a reboot of a reboot. Essentially, Alone in the Dark came out, I think originally, I want to say it was like the 1980s as a PC game. I could be wrong there. But it's always had this game with a spooky atmosphere and a supernatural twist. This time around, it looks like a game where it's two characters. One's a detective, and I'm not even sure who the other one is. And they're going to an old house that may or may not be like haunted or something. And they're doing an investigation into like a bunch of murders or disappearances in the house. And I guess at some point the game will go supernatural. The reason that I say that is because I watched the entire like big trailer explanation for the game on my React show this last Sunday. And literally they don't want to give any of the game away. So all you see is the character David Harbour, the actor, plays one of the characters, looks just like him. And you see him entering the house or whatever, and then he has this woman with him. I'm not even sure what her relation is to his detective character, and they run into some like really creepy people in the house. One of these girls is running around. She almost looks like she's a ghost. Maybe she is, who knows? And then nothing happens. Like in this explanation trailer, nothing happens. You don't see gameplay, like no combat, no supernatural elements. It's just kind of hinted at, but nothing actually happens. I think they're trying to avoid spoilers. So it's weird because the game comes out tomorrow and no one really knows what the game is yet. Okay, well, this morning, all the reviews hit. Allow me to read you the scores and reviews for this game. All right, first of all, oh boy, here's your score breakdown. IGN, 6 out of 10. GameSpot, 4 out of 10. Eurogamer, 2 out of 5. Games Radar, 1.5 out of 5. Push Square, 6 out of 10. Noisy Pixel, 7 out of 10. Now, just listen to this breakdown, because this is a bunch of others. 90%, 85%, 84%, 80%, 80%, 80%, 75%, 75%, 72%, 70%, 65%, 50%, 40%, 33%. What? So this is confusing me, obviously, because it sounds like a lot of people don't like it, but then there's some people who really, really do like it. Okay? So here's some actual direct quotes from a few different reviews. Here's one. Alone in the Dark is messy and short. David Harbour is underutilized, and it feels awkward from a gameplay to story execution. It does have great atmosphere and a great haunted house design. There's some weirdness that I think old horror gamers should see at some point. It's like Resident Evil meets Twin Peaks. We played Alone in the Dark. It's far from perfect, but puzzle twists and atmosphere are worthy. Okay? This is not a full review, but the new Alone in the Dark is a tremendous letdown. A fantastic atmosphere is completely let down by frustrating combat, obtuse puzzles, and a complete lack of care for the mental health issues at the story's core. I'm not aware that I've ever played a single horror game that tackled mental health issues very well. I'm just going to be honest. Remember when we played that one that was an Xbox exclusive a few years ago, and it was from Bloober Team? And literally at the end of the game, it's like, oh, suicide's fine. What? Yeah, it's fine. I'll just kill myself. Wait, what? No, that shouldn't be in the, but that's how the ending of the game is. Yeah, medium. The ending of the game, there's like, oh, it's fine. It's just kill yourself. What? No, wait, what? No, whoa. I can't even believe they wrote it like that, Or take a look at Silent Hill games, where people are so haunted by the terrors of their life, this psychological trauma that they've suffered, that their psychological trauma becomes bosses. And the bosses at first are mutated freaks and you don't know what they are. And then when you find out later what they actually represent in real life, you fucking shit your pants in terror. Like, still to this day, after having fought that particular boss in Silent Hill 2, and then after the boss was done, you guys told me what the boss was. I was like, wow, that's fucked. That to this day, that still gets me. I'm like, I can't believe that's what that was. And goddamn, that's really fucked up. It's like, it really fucks your head up. Okay? So, I don't know of any, like, horror game that's actually really taken mental issues and psychological trauma and handled it very well. Here's more. Here's my review of Alone in the Dark. The pros, really good voiceovers, good gameplay, good graphics, and fantastic writing. But the cons, the monsters are not challenging at all, and there's dull puzzles. 9 out of 10. So I think if you see the point I'm about to make, this is one of those games that it's for a particular style of gamer. And overall, I think it's really hard to score. And I think one of the major criticisms that I've definitely seen of the game is that it's way too short. It's a full $60 release. It's not $70, but they're selling it for $60. And I guess what people are saying is you can beat it very fast if you know how to. And the only way that really the game would be longer is if you fail a bunch of the puzzles or you get stuck on puzzles. But I guess it's really, really short. All right. I guess, I don't know. I didn't see any actual people call out how short it is. When you were telling me the game is really short, I would probably assume 10 hours or less, right? So, yeah, if you can beat the game in like 3 sittings and it's $60, I can definitely say I understand why people are complaining about the game. But if it's got good atmosphere, if it's got good acting, right, and a story that's suspenseful and scary and grips you, then I think that the whole idea of the gameplay is inferior. It kind of reminds me of a game a long time ago. Do you guys remember that game? I can't remember what the name of it was, but there was a game where you were like a medium between two worlds, and it has something to do with pictures, right? Something like that. I can't remember what it was called. Oh, Murdered Soul Suspect. Now I remember it. Murdered Soul Suspect. Its gameplay elements were not great. It was a game that had kind of crappy gameplay, but the plot was interesting and the atmosphere was creepy. So overall, I really liked Murdered Soul Suspect. But most people hated it. It was critically panned. Most gamers said it sucked, but I played it and I really, really liked it. And I praised it at the time, saying, yeah, it's definitely a flawed game. You could tell this isn't a AAA game. It's got bugs. The gameplay has issues. But I really enjoyed the game. And a lot of people even said my playthrough was one of the best on the internet because I didn't approach it from a negative standpoint of crapping on it. I played it for what it was and I enjoyed it. And people said, you're one of the few people who enjoyed the game. And that's why it was a good playthrough. So when I hear about something like this, a game like Alone in the Dark, right? It sounds to me like it may be up my alley of the kind of game that I like. I like creepy games. I like murder mysteries and supernatural elements. I like detective stories. David Harbour is a good actor. I'd probably enjoy his performance in this game. If the gameplay sucks, then yes, obviously, that's going to hold the game back a bit, right? But, man, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth $60. You know what I mean? And this kind of game, if it really has these reviews that are all over the place, it seems to me like this is a game, if you wait a month, it's going to be $20. You know what I'm saying? I can't play it right now regardless. It comes out tomorrow. I can't play it right now regardless because I have to focus in on these 2 RPGs that I'm trying to beat, right? But maybe after we finish either Baldur's Gate 3 or Like a Dragon, this could be a consideration to add into the schedule along with Dragon's Dogma 2 for variety, right? Think about it. I'm after hearing this stuff about it, I'm intrigued about it. I think maybe this could be the kind of game that actually is interesting. All right. But I don't know if it's interesting for $60. Like, I kind of feel like, here's the thing. If I buy it for $60 and we do a playthrough and it does well, it doesn't matter what it costs, right? So for me, it's like, it's not a big deal. But at the same time, I'm going to feel pretty bad if I spend $60 and it really is like an 8-hour game and it sucks. And we're like, man, you know, I really let myself get ripped off because I had some of those reviews to warn me and I just ignored them. So I don't know what to do here. I guess we'll have to try to figure it out together. But the truth is, this is not a decision we have to make immediately this week because I have to get through Baldur's Gate and I have to get through Like a Dragon first. And we're starting Dragon's Dogma on Friday. So we've got our schedule set. Once we get through those, then we can look at, okay, what's next? And yes, Alone in the Dark absolutely is a candidate for me of a game that I'm interested in playing. Okay. Last topic for today. The new Game Pass release schedule was just released. Coming out today, if you have Xbox Game Pass, Lightyear Frontier and MLB The Show 24. So the new MLB game's out today. I didn't even know that. On the 20th, tomorrow, The Quarry. Well, all I'm going to say about The Quarry is this. It's the same dev team that made Until Dawn. All right. Sadly, it feels like Until Dawn light. Meaning it doesn't have, in my opinion, the better writing of Until Dawn. It's a badly written script, and a lot of the characters are meant to obviously be over-the-top obnoxious. When you're playing a game where, especially a game like this, a survival horror game, where none of the characters are likable, you're just not going to care enough about them to really be invested in the story. And that's kind of what happened to me with the Quarry. It wasn't that the graphics weren't good. It wasn't that, you know, the game didn't function well. It's that I didn't like any of the characters. And when you don't like the characters in a horror game, you're just not going to care what happens to them. And that I just was so disconnected from the plot. I just found myself getting, you know, wanting it to end, you know. When the characters literally an hour or two into the game are dancing around, I kid you not, they're dancing around saying, pop, pop, peanut butter, utter pops. And this is a running joke in the game. It's hard for me to take the game seriously. Anyway, on 321, Evil West. 326, Terra Invicta. 328, Diablo 4. We knew that was coming. So Diablo 4 officially at the end of the month, hitting Game Pass. Also on 328, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 and Open Roads. On April 1st, Ark Survival Ascended. And on April 2nd, Super Hot Mind Control Delete. People in the chat are like, huh? What are you doing? What was that? What? Pop, pop, peanut butter, utter pops. That's part of the game. Go look. You'll find montages of it on YouTube. Of every time they do it in the game. It's stupid as shit, and it's in the game. Anyway. Anyway. Okay. So that's what I had to talk about today, guys. It's time for shout-outs. Shall we? Let's get to the shout-out segment. What is this? The fuck out of my chat, stupid. Okay. Let's see here. All right, I have many super chats. Wow, let's do a bunch of super chats. We have Lyoko Warrior did a ton of super chats this morning. So the first one says, if you mess around, you find out Phil. Then they did another one. If you don't get a prenup, that's exactly what happens in a divorce. Right. Another super chat. Philip, I don't suck balls, Brunel. You're right, I don't suck balls. Ice 11084 did a super chat, says you didn't buy the game, it was donated. That's neither here nor there. Doesn't matter who paid for it. I have invested the time into this game. I'm a customer and a player of the game, and therefore I have the right to criticize it. Lyoko Warrior did a $5 super chat again and said, so to be clear, instead of taking a big fat L, you want the devs to change the game? Yes, I absolutely want Larian Studios to drop everything they're doing right now. Everything that they're doing. I don't care whatever. If you work at Larian Studios right now and you're sitting at your desk, stop doing what you're doing immediately. Close all applications, put your coffee away. Now listen to me. You have to recode my game right now to give me back my items. I'm very upset with you. And obviously, I'm more of importance of anything that you're doing right now that you must give me my items back. So get to it immediately. Thanks a lot, Lyoko Warrior, for that. Yes, of course. That's exactly what I'm saying. You hit it on the nose. Okay. Yikes. Anyway, let's continue. Big Tuna re-upping their memberships for 20 months and says Asterion said possession is 9/10 of the law and left. There you go. Thank you for the support. And Adam Theory, with 9 months as a member, says the Quarry was a little disappointing for me. Yeah, I mean, I think for everyone, especially if you were a big fan of Until Dawn and you've been playing the Dark Pictures anthology games recently, right? And then you said, oh, you know, I want to play their newest game. Because here's the truth. You guys may not have known this. The Quarry, get this, was actually designed for the Google Cloud Streaming Gaming Service. What was it called? I've actually forgotten what it was called because it failed and now it doesn't exist anymore. It was actually an exclusive game they made just for that service. It was supposed to be that what was it called? Google Stadia. Thank you, Darziak. It was Google Stadia. So it was supposed to be a Stadia exclusive so people would want the Google Stadia service. And what happened was the Stadia failed so quickly within a year that they didn't even get to finish the game yet. And Stadia was already ending. So what they had to do is they had to retool the game and turn it into a full-fledged release, which they weren't planning on doing. This was supposed to be a Stadia exclusive. That's why it's not so good. You understand? Like, they were like, we're not going to put all the effort in because it's not a cross-platform game. It's just going to be on Stadia. But maybe if it does successfully, then maybe we'll actually make better full-fledged games for Stadia. And Stadia flopped before they even released. So they retooled it, released it, and everyone's like, what the hell is this? Why is it so inferior to both Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology? And there's your answer. Okay. Dentronic says, how do you keep up with all these facts I lost with all these things that happen? I don't know. I try to remember this stuff, you know, that I'm involved in, and, you know, it's my job to talk about it, so maybe that's what it is. But I know it's like little minutia that you actually tie these together into these webs of stories and stuff, right? Okay. Anyway, I received a $1 tip this morning before I ever actually started streaming, and this person says, why don't you load a save from prior to Asterion leaving, take his equipment back, and redo the dialogue the same way? That's why the game allows to save often, even during combat and dialogue, so you can learn through trial and error more easily. Because I don't want to save scum the game because of a narrative choice that I made. And I understand what you're saying, that they set it up like that, but I don't want to do it that way. You know, a true roleplay is that you'll live with your decisions. Now, you made a decision and you had a bad outcome, and now you're going to undo the decision like you have a godlike omnipotent powers. It's that you're supposed to live with the consequence. I want to reiterate this. I'm totally 100% okay with the game having Asterion leave my party, and he goes on and does whatever he wants. I'm totally okay with that. I'm not okay with the game finger snapping Asterion out of existence, so there's no way for me to ever interact with him again or get an epilogue from him or get my equipment back. That's bad game design. They should have had, as I suggested, there should be a chance to either, intimidate, persuade, deceive, do a check, a dialogue where either you can maybe still get him to stay, or maybe, hey, difference of opinion, you want to leave, you leave, but I get my stuff back. And then if he disagrees, you have an option to choose to let him leave with the items, or you have a boss fight where he becomes like a super powered version, and now you got to fight him to get your shit back. I would really enjoy that. I think that's a better way to go about it. Not, oh, watch this, gone. That's lazy. That's really a lazy way to do it. I'm not trying to insult Larian. I'm telling you, that's a lazy way to do it. There could have been many different ways they could have done that would have all been a more satisfying ending to that line of plot and narrative. And they just said, oh, well, bye-bye. And that's shitty. Sorry, I'm never going to change my opinion on that. Okay. I received a $3 tip. Oh, really? So this is an anonymous tipper. They said this is actually something that can happen in some games without warning. It has its own TV trope page. It's called So Long and Thanks for All the Gear. In Dragon Age Origins Inquisition, Suikoden, Deltarune, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. These are a few examples listed. It's especially prevalent in D&D CRPGs. In Dragon Age Origins, someone can actually leave permanently with DLC items that you paid for, and that's robbery. Wow. But I think you see the point I'm making here. Listen to the games you just quoted, right? Out of all those games, Suikoden, right? Dragon Age Origins, Knights of the Old Republic. These are old games. And since then, we've made leaps and bounds and improvements of RPGs for a reason. It's a frustrating design choice that makes no sense that it's in a modern RPG. If this was something from the 90s or the early 2000s, I'd be like, okay, it gets a pass. It's an old game. But now it's like they actively made the decision to make it like this. They did. They said, we're going to make it like this so that it frustrates you, right? It's stupid. Thank you for the anonymous $3 tip. I appreciate that very much. Let's get that on the leaderboard. Okay. Alrighty. Hold on a second here. I received a $12.50 tip from 1 Minute Man. He says, it's kind of surprising you didn't get dialogue options to persuade Asterion. Yeah, hold on 1 second. I want to play your animation before I forget. If you had, he would still be in your party and everyone would have been so proud of him. As you said, you probably hadn't earned high enough approval from him. This game has an abundance of quests that give you a chance to earn approval from your party members. You haven't done them all. Maybe a friendship with benefits would have given you the options. Undoubtedly, yes. Undoubtedly, that's what would have happened. You know? Unbelievable, right? I mean, just think about it. Early on in the game, he wants to suck your blood. You tell him no, that's weird. Then he wants to sleep with you. You tell him no. Then he wants to kill a character that literally it's the morally wrong decision to make, and you're serving a demon by doing it. And then later on in the game, because you didn't make that bad choice, that character helps you. So obviously that wasn't the right choice to make, right? Like every choice he wants to take is a bad one. Like I said, he really seems to be like the character that you know he's the bad morality character. And if you're doing an evil run of the game, he probably absolutely loves you, right? But for me, I'm doing a good morality run, right? And there's nothing I can really do about the fact that he didn't like me over the course of the game. I wasn't actively trying to piss him off. I wasn't actively making awful decisions towards him. In fact, the whole idea that at the end of the game, we're going out of our way, when we're supposed to be saving the world right now from this elder brain, right? Instead, we go out of our way to go to the mansion where his vampire lord lives. We're fighting through armies of werewolves and creatures, bats. We're going down into a subterranean, dungeon, and we're going to stop this ritual, save him again, because during the ritual, Asterion is about to get sacrificed. We save him again during this ritual. So not only have we saved him from vampire hunters and his own vampire spawn during the course of the game, we save him another time during the ritual. Then we defeat the vampire lord. And we say, sorry, we don't want you to become the next vampire lord. We just don't like the idea of a vampire lord and sacrificing thousands of lives for you to be powerful, right? And then he gets pissed. It's like ridiculous. Like he wants the world, and then he wants a cherry on top with icing and sprinkles. It's like, dude, we went out of our fucking way. That's not enough. Well, then sorry that you're not a reasonable person. I'm not going to fucking bend over backwards for your ass just because your voice actor won Actor of the Year or whatever at the Game Awards doesn't make you the best character ever written. In fact, quite the contrary. You're kind of a frustrating character to deal with, right? So for me, that's my take. Again, you can completely disagree with that take, and you have the right to. But for me, that's my take on it. I find the character pretty annoying, and I made my decision, and I'm totally okay, again, living with that decision. But I am frustrated that he took my goddamn gear, and I don't think that that should have been what happened, that they should fix that, honestly. Like, they should improve that in the game so that you have options to keep your gear. All right, that's my take. You can disagree. It's okay if you do, but that's my take on it. All right? Okay. Spawn Killer re-upping his membership for 34 months in a row. Holy crap, you're almost to your 3-year anniversary. And he says, crazy how it's almost 3 years since you left Twitch. Yeah, we're almost at the 3-year anniversary now of me just up and leaving Twitch. I think that it was, the way I was handled was very unprofessional and poor. They didn't care to even speak with me about what was going on. They didn't think that it was important, even though I'd been on Twitch for many, many years as a streamer. So, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and rant about it 3 years later. I've enjoyed my time here on YouTube, despite the fact that there's definitely some shortcomings of being on YouTube. It's very hard to get any kind of exposure. There's really no growth here when it comes to being a streamer. Like, I am who I am on YouTube, and that's it. Like, I'm never going to get big as a streamer on YouTube. It's not possible, because the way they've set up streaming, there's no way to really get exposure like there is on Twitch. And the chat is inferior to Twitch's. I think we all agree there, right? But it is what it is. I've enjoyed my 3 years here, and I hope to be here for a long time. Carlton Jr. says, Asterion, in my opinion, is the least character development in his character arc throughout the game. Lae'zel, on the other hand, has a lot of development in terms of morality. Yeah, I agree. Lae'zel starts off completely indoctrinated and brainwashed into the Githyanki culture and everything. And then, over the course of the game, you see, basically the wool is removed from blocking her eyes. And she's like, oh, now I see everything for how it really is. And by the end of the game, she's become, like, a much better person, right? And that's a good thing. That's called character development. It's well done. Asterion didn't have character development. Literally, he had a revenge story the whole game. Then he's getting his revenge, and now he's demanding even more on top of the revenge, which wasn't part of the deal you made with him. So it doesn't make sense that he would act like that. Okay. I received another 1250 tip from 1 Minute Man to allow me to play the second animation and add this to the total, and then we see what he has to say. If you really want Asterion's weapons and armor, you can perhaps have chosen the other option that then ended him and looted him. This quest has like 4 to 5 endings, and you could have recruited Minx 20 hours ago. Now you've lost 2 companions. I've lost 2 companions. Are you talking about Minthara from the beginning of the game, who really wasn't ever presented as a companion? Maybe that's what you're talking about. He says, are you going to lose Lae'zel too? Is it a coincidence that at the same time you're under pressure to finish 2 RPGs that you're playing, you're under pressure in Baldur's Gate 3, trying to finish off the Elder Brain? So what 1 Minute Man is saying, all right, is actually that Baldur's Gate 3 is an allegory of my real life. Because by losing Minsk and now Asterion, not Minsk, excuse me, by losing Minthara and now Asterion, all right, it's like I've lost John, Rambo, and Howard. And because I have now been in a situation where I'm pressured to finish RPGs, just like I'm being pressured in real life in the game to stop the Elden Ring. To stop the Elden Ring. All right, I give up. Forget it. I was trying to make a joke, and I botched it so badly, I'm never going to finish the thought. I marble-mouthed it. All right, forget it. I marble mountain. What Woman Man is trying to say is a joke. He's like, is it like, is Baldur's Gate really your real life? Like, you know what I mean? Like one of those surreal Matrix things. Are you trapped in the Matrix and really Baldur's Gate is an allegory for your real life or something like that, right? There you go. What do you mean I'm casually spoiling folks after the talk ended? What on earth are you talking about? What did I spoil? How could I spoil? I haven't played the game before. Oh, yeah? I'm being told I never could have recruited Minthara anyway. That you have to, I guess you, that's what people were actually saying early on in my run, is that you can recruit certain characters in this game, but only if you do a pure evil run, that then later on you can recruit them. And remember, early on in the game, this is Act 1, so this is not a spoiler if you've been watching the playthrough. People were like, oh, there's a fight against this character Minthara, and knock her out, don't kill her. So I turned on non-lethal, and I knocked her out, and then people were like, oh no, you accidentally turned it off, you killed her. And I was like, what? So I guess later in the game there would have been options with her, but she was already dead, so there's nothing I could do about it. I don't know. It just seems like this is a game with so many complex options and moving pieces that it's really hard to figure them all out in just a run. Like, you probably have to play the game several times to try to figure everything out, right? Let's see. I received a $1 tip. Someone says it's not much of a consequence if you can put Asterion stuff on another character and build him like him, so it's like he never left. That's why it's designed that way, to be an actual consequence. Same with not getting any further resolution with him. My problem is, let me be honest here. You want to know what my actual real problem is? That you make this moral choice, and the reason you made it is because you said, I mean, just what Shadowheart says during the scene. She yells out, yeah, but you're going to become the Vampire Lord at the expense of all these people, right? And that's just not right. That you're going to sacrifice all these people to become more powerful, right? So then you made the moral choice to stop that from happening, and then they just say, oh, Asterion says, oh, well, I'm never going to let them be freed anyway. And he snaps the staff over his knee like a spoiled brat, so now they're all going to die anyway. And it's like, well, what the fuck? So what did I even make the choice for? You know what that is? The illusion of choice. Because you made a direct choice to save people, and then the game says, oh, by the way, there was no way to save them anyway. Right? And that's bullshit. That shouldn't have happened that way. It should have been, if you make the choice to save the people, you save the people. Now, oh, now you can't save the people and you lose the character too. It's like a double whammy. That actually what really pisses me off even more is I made that choice and I want those people saved and redeemed, and I can't do it now because the game took that option away from me because of the writing, and that's pissy bullshit. That makes me upset. That makes me upset like a spoiled brat. So now I've become Asterion. So now I've lost Minthara and Asterion, and that's losing John Rambo and Howard. I'm stuck in a situation of RPG overload where I have to finish the game right away, just like in Baldur's Gate 3, how I need to finish the or save the world right away because there's time ticking for the Elder Brain. And Asterion is a pissy, whiny, spoiled brat, and now here I am whining on my podcast like a pissy, whiny, spoiled brat. It's all come like total fourth wall breaking shit. There you go. Oh my God. What has happened here today? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Solo re-upping his membership for 34 months. Says Asterion sounds like an upstanding guy. There you go. All right. Oy. All right. We have a few minutes left, so if anyone has anything they would like to talk about, please tag me in the chat. Do I think I'll ever go back and play Hollow Knight from start to finish? I've always left that as an option. I've actually brought it up several times over the years in polls for possible playthroughs. No one seems to want it. To be honest, it's never really won. It's never really garnered that much attention. And this is the thing that I bring up all the time. All the time people yell at me and they say, why don't you play indie games? Don't you understand that indie games are great? That indie games today are much higher quality than even AAA games in a lot of cases, and you're really missing out. And I say, you know, you guys are right, so let's do it. Let's do a marathon where I play indie games or suggest some indie games. And I play them, and literally no one shows up, and no one ever asks for them. People yell for them, but then when I try to play them, they don't do well. I played Hollow Knight during a marathon, and I thought it was good, and I said I would go back and consider playing it, and people were like, yeah. And then within a week, no one ever mentions it. It's like no one cares about Hollow Knight. So I own it, but I never went back and played it because no one cares. You know? It's sad. I really feel like, sadly, people get hyped for these indies, but only if like a high profile streamer's playing it and there's like so much hype behind it because thousands of people are watching it or whatever. But the moment that like someone like me plays it, it's like, they don't care. You know, it sucks. I am interested in indie games. I actually genuinely am. A lot of these games have looked interesting to me over the years. And then it's like pulling teeth trying to get people to watch them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just my audience is like that or whatever. It's the same thing with Metroidvanias. Like, I love Metroidvania games. And for how many years I tried to play them, and every time I tried it failed. The one exception was the latest Metroid that I played. Metroid, what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. You guys convinced me to play it, and people actually did show up for that. But outside of that, you know, I just can't get anyone to engage with the indie stuff. You know what I'm saying? Cosmos says, do you agree all publicity is good? You're probably going to remember Larian better because of the strong opinions you have of Baldur's Gate 3. Well, you know how I would really remember Baldur's Gate 3 the best? If all the people who worked at Larian right now at their desks stopped what they were doing, pushed their coffee away, closed their apps, and reprogrammed the game and gave me my goddamn items back. Then that would be perfect. I would remember them forever. Very realistic. Okay. Reverse 750 says, is this experience ruining the chance of you ever doing another one of this style or more once you know you have lots of free time? My problem with the game is it's too damn long for my style. It just is, all right? There's nothing wrong with the game. The problem is my style of content creation, where I'm juggling several games at a time for variety, right? It's hard for me to play long games. This is one of the longest games I've ever played. I started it in December. I've played it nonstop as a main game. We're over 120 hours in. That's like 3 times longer than the average game that I would usually play. That's really the problem here. It's so long that it makes it very, very hard to do the game justice, to do my viewers justice, because you know that I'm being pulled in a million directions at once, right? How many games have I skipped now to keep playing this one and finish it? How many games are gonna, like, I'm gonna play Dragon's Dogma 2 on Friday, and then it goes on hold. I'm not even playing Rise of the Ronin, right? I'm not playing Alone in the Dark right now. This is all stuff. If this game wasn't a game that took this long to get through, I would have been playing other games, you know? And that's a problem, again, if people are sadly demanding other stuff and I can't get to it. You know, I think what the problem is with a game like Baldur's Gate 3, for me, is that it just leads to disappointment. Correct? It does. Because I can't appease the people who like the game because I can't play it enough to immerse myself in it and beat it in a reasonable amount of time. But I can't appease the people who don't like the game because now I have to put so much time into it, I'm not committing to other playthroughs and I'm skipping games. Do you understand? So it's a problem. It's a big problem. And listen, I didn't play it at launch because I told you guys I knew it was going to be too long, and there was no way I was going to have a game like this work during the fall gaming season when I was literally juggling so many games. I knew there was no way that was ever going to work. I'm happy that I waited until December to start it, so at least December and January we solely focused on this game and got really far in, so then when February and March hit and I was playing other games, it wasn't so bad, right? But man, I don't know how I could do another game like this. I don't. You see how much problems this has caused? No, again, not to say that I haven't enjoyed the playthrough. Not to say that people haven't been supportive of it. But look at my whole business right now is disturbed by it. We're all rattled. We're in RPG overload, and I'm skipping game after game because we're still stuck in this endless fucking playthrough, right? I mean, it's such an oddity that a game would be this long anyway. How often do you play a game that it's this long? You know what I'm saying? Cosmo says, the length is too long for me too. I really have watched 25% of the content. It's good. It's good, but I no damn way am I going to focus on 120 hours of gameplay. Maybe it's financially good for you. I'll tell you this. Again, it's a double-edged sword. Here's why. For those of you who really have enjoyed the playthrough on stream, you've been very supportive of it. I don't even think there's been a Baldur's Gate stream in months that we haven't hit the $100 tip skull. That says something, right? That means something. The game gets support on stream. But it's the absolute flip side when it comes to on-demand YouTube viewers. As I'm sure many of you who watch this podcast on demand know because you check the channel, the playthrough gets almost no views. I've got parts of the playthrough sitting at 200 views for weeks. No one's gotten to part 100 yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people slowly watching it, but this is the kind of playthrough that's like a slow burn playthrough. You'll probably watch it a lot over time, and eventually people will get through it, but it's going to take a long ass time. So the playthrough, again, I told you guys things like engagement, views, profits on this channel have been down since I played Baldur's Gate 3 because I'm not getting the back end viewership and support on the playthrough here. I am getting it on the streams, you see? So it's kind of like, it's good I'm getting it on the streams because, man, if I wasn't getting it on the streams, then this playthrough would have been a dud, right? And I think that would go for anything, right? Like any playthrough, any game. It doesn't even matter what genre it is. Doesn't matter. Anything that's going to be 100 hours long, you're going to lose that following because people don't have that attention span to watch 100 hours of anything, right? It's hard to get people to watch a TV series that's long, right? So, yeah, there's not much I can really say about that, you know? Imagine a TV series, 100 episodes of an hour each. How long will it fucking take you to get through that, right? Not everyone can watch One Piece, which is that's what you're describing, fucking One Piece, right? Okay. See, here's the thing. As much as I appreciate the live streaming support, because this is my life's blood, if I didn't have live streaming support, I would go out of business. Definitely the behind the scenes, you know, the viewers who watch on demand, I call them the silent majority because there's thousands of people every day who watch my content on demand, but they're not verbal. They don't come to the streams and talk or whatever. They're just there to sit back and watch casually. That's a big part of my business model. A lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, Phil's a full-time streamer. But you understand my background is a YouTuber. So those behind the scenes views add up and become a big part of my income. And when I get several months where super chats are down, the gifted memberships were all fake, so now my memberships are way, way, way down, and the views are down, this is hurting me. You know, that's why we have to get out of RPG overload, get through these games that I'm playing, and get to new games. We have to do this. Okay, I think it's time to end today's show. Again, I would love feedback on what you think about this situation that happened in Baldur's Gate 3. By the way, today we're just moving right on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit here and keep bitching about it. We're going to move on. I don't know if we're going to go straight to try to save Lae'zel or if maybe we'll do Shadowheart. I think we got to do shopping first. Let's go on a shopping trip for Minsk. Whether we go to one or two vendors and we buy shit. We got a lot of money now, so you can buy a lot of stuff. And then we're going to do the next mission, and we'll see where it goes and go from there. Okay? Guys, thank you so very much. Great audience today. Thanks for interacting, and thanks for your input on this subject matter. I hope that you've enjoyed the Level 1 podcast. Tomorrow, get all caught up on everything that happened on today's full day of streaming. Thankfully, we're finally back with a full day of RPG Mania here today. And anything else that goes down in, in gaming news and the like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.